when I got injured and was brought back home, my life changed. I was no longer capable of being a combat photographer. So all my identity I had ever associated with as a journalist, as a photographer, and in particular being a military photographer, had just seemed to have gone away in an instant. And that was devastating. I have since photographed over 6,000 veterans in 27 states within the United States. And each and every one of them are such extraordinary human beings and have had like experiences to me. And I think that relatability and that validation has been so cathartic and healing for me that without that part of my life, I don't think I would be sitting here, frankly, today. I was sitting in a VA one day, and an older gentleman was sitting next to me, and I was feeling extra crouchy and really, really just grated because I was at the lowest part of my life. I had lost my job. I was feeling physically just broken down. Emotionally, I was threadbare. And to make matters worse, I was getting my health care from the VA system who served mainly men who were older. And not only that, but I felt like I was fighting tooth and nail for the medical services I deserved just as equally as them. So I was so wrapped up in my own bitterness that I couldn't see the forest in spite of the trees. So here I was at the VA hospital. This older gentleman was staring at me. I could see him from my peripheral, and my face, I could just feel it growing and getting red. And the devil popped up on my shoulder and says, just tell that guy where to go. Boundaries. But the angel popped up on my shoulder and said, you don't know who he is, why he's looking at you. You're making all these assumptions, and you know what happens when you make assumptions? You make an ass of yourself. So I did the right thing. I turned to him and I was like, is there something I can help you with? And that was just the moment he was waiting for, because by that time it was like a floodgate. He began to tell me how he was in World War II, how he made it through Normandy, how he liberated a concentration camp, he survived being a POW, and I was like, oh my gosh. I almost made the biggest mistake of my life. So I went from thinking everybody else was prejudiced to being the one who was myself. Pretty eye-opening. And in that moment, I realized this guy, I bet nobody knows who he is. I know I didn't. And he has such an extraordinary story, and he's in his 90s, he's not going to be around much longer. I wonder if I could take his picture. And that's when it started. I went from dreading going to the VA hospital to do my physical recovery to looking forward to it and actually making time to make portraits before my appointments and filling my hours that were once full of stress and anxiety with this sort of loving and giving back idea of that last living picture, and to have a task and a purpose and a sense of self-worth, but also a sense of reason. Taking portraits and archiving these stories became my new mission, and that's what I needed. I have always lived my life in service, and this was just another way to carry that forward. So I'm thankful that he was put in my path that day. So I invite you to reflect on your life a little bit and how you can look at something that may be viewed as negative. Like, why is this happening to me? I questioned, why did things happen that way? Why did I live when my friends died? And why was I so lucky? And I felt guilt. I felt a lot of guilt about that. But I live every day for their memories and to be worthy of the time that I have on this earth, and to make sure that I never forget and that others don't forget the sacrifices that humans make for each other. The community that I serve, that 1% within the United States population, raised their hand and said, I will give my life and body for your service. That's pretty extraordinary to begin with. And I live every day just to honor their memories and honor their service.